Continue on from the previous lesson, or open the file Hat02. In this lesson, we're going to add some seams to our hat. Go into the Seam subobject mode of Garment Maker, and now we have to tell it where we're going to tie or stitch together this hat. So we know that we want to have a stitch probably to stitch up the back, and all you have to do is select the two edges of the broken splines that we made earlier and click on Create Seam. And you see you get a nice seam in between here. Then you just start seaming all the other pieces together. Now, sometimes when you try to create a seam, you may get an error that says seam line topology is wrong. One of the best ways I find to avoid this is to create seams between two objects that aren't connected first, and then once you've done that, create your interior seams. So for instance, this top portion of the hat is getting stitched to itself to close up the back. Before I do this seam, it might be wise to stitch it to the other object, which is the band. So to do this, I'm just going to select the seam that I just made, click on Delete Seams, and I'll stitch these two pieces together first. So I'll just select the two seam edges, click on Create Seam, and you see I have a seam there. Now when I go to either one of these and click on Create Seam, I won't have a problem with seam line topology. So you can just continue on and seam together all the pieces that you want to get stitched. And we'll do this for the top also, so that we get a nice tight stitch on the top. Create seam. Sometimes when you create a seam, you have either flipped faces or problems with your seam line, and you can get a reversed seam. They tend to look a lot like this. So on occasion when you create a seam, you'll find that you get something that looks like that. Now to correct this, you can do exactly what I just did to make it and click on Reverse Seam. It's good to know because you don't want that, otherwise your garment will try and pull itself inside out. So now that we have all the seams ready to pull our garment together, we can go ahead and add a cloth modifier and simulate this hat to settle onto our character's head. We'll take a look at that in our next lesson.